back on July 4th, we have the one big beautiful bill. It expanded some of the tax advantages that were set in place back on 2018. And I think that everyone should know about it because if you want to implement a tax strategy, you need to be doing it along the way this year before we get to December 31st.
This is the Power Moves for Business Growth podcast, presented by Gulfside Business Solutions, where stories and strategies meet to fuel your growth. At GBS, we bring together expertise in financing, strategy, marketing, tax, legal, and business operations, all to help you make the power moves that drive lasting success. Join us as we explore real-world insights and powerful moves from leaders, partners, and innovators shaping business growth today.
Welcome to the Power Moves for Business podcast. My name is Joe Austin. I'm the owner of CJA Business Strategy. I'm joined today by the Chief Strategy Officer of Gulfside Business Solutions, Herb Johnson. He's the real head of the Power Moves podcast presented by Gulfside Business Solutions. Today, our guest is my CPA, and after you hear from him, I think you'll understand why I trust him, and you should trust him as well. Our guest is Carlos, the Taxman Nazario. Carlos, welcome to Power Moves.
Thank you for the invitation. It's an honor to be here with you guys.
Carlos, you have a really interesting background. You're originally from Puerto Rico. You moved to Texas about 9 years ago. And you're duly accredited as a CPA and attorney, which means you're obviously smart and you like school, I guess. Tell us more about your unique career path and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for the invitation. It's a blessing and an honor to be with you guys today. Yeah, it's been a long journey. So it's more than 25 years of experience working with very small clients to Fortune 500 companies, both as outside counselor, but also inside on some of them. Being employed by local and also global CPA firms give me a view of what we can do looking forward for the specific needs of my clients.
Great. Carlos, can you expand a little bit about on the beautiful big tax bill that just passed and how that affects small business owners?
Yeah, absolutely. So back on July 4th, we have the one big beautiful bill. It expanded some of the tax advantages that were set in place back on 2018. And I think that everyone should know about it because if you want to implement a tax strategy, you need to be doing it along the way this year before we get to December 31st. So one of the big things that we have there is just taking advantage of the bonus depreciation. If you may remember, back in 2018, we had 100% deduction for placing in service a fixed asset, like, for example, equipment. Currently, it was down to 40%. So if we're going back to 100% starting now in 2025, this will make a big advantage in terms of what you can deduct on the current year.
Can you expand a little bit about the importance of planning like this year versus waiting till next?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that most owners miss is that they wait until next year to try to figure out what to do about their taxes. So I think the best strategy will be to sit down with your strategies right now, figure out where you are, what things you can implement before year end, like the one big beautiful bill and other section of the law that we can take care of, and try to plan ahead and try to implement them and be sure that you are taking full advantage of those. Like, for example, you should be sitting down with your tax expert and figuring out how much you have to pay of estimated taxes on a quarterly basis. The best approach is to take advantage that now and reduce your actual payments. So this will be an impact on your current cash flow. It will increase your cash flow. So why wait to next year if you can take the advantage right now?
Okay, you're a lot smarter than I am in this area, I think. Um, but opportunity cost is what is coming to mind. Is that's how you're talking about impacting cash flow, and that you have the money now to use versus waiting till next year?
Absolutely. I know you have heard, you don't know what you don't know. So if you don't are asking the right questions, probably when you are actually asked the question, it will be too little too late to apply them to the return that you're handling. So the best approach will be to know what are your uh, optimized tax strategy options, apply them during this year. So when you file your return, you will have the maximum amount of deduction that you're allowed to have.
Okay,
Also, important part is to monitor how well are you doing. So not only try to implement a strategy, but also monitor along the way how well are you doing, and also what other considerations you might take into place. Right, for example, when we were setting up some of the tax strategies at the beginning of this year, we have a view of what we had in the law according to January 1st of this year. Now that we have new changes, we're implementing that along the way before we get to the end of this year.
Growing your business doesn't stop when this episode does. That's why Gulfside Business Solutions and CJA Business Strategy offer webinars to help you grow your leads, sales, revenue, and profits. This isn't a lecture. This is an interactive session where we're going to help you grow your business. To learn more and to register, go to gulfsidebusinesssolutions.com/webinars. Now, back to Power Moves.
can you tell our listeners maybe what the first big power move that you made was? I know you're a CPA, I know you're an attorney, but from a business standpoint, what was where did you kind of consider yourself turning the corner and making a power move that propelled you forward?
I think two times in my career. I think the first one was when I decided to have my own firm back in Puerto Rico. That was like 20 years ago. And it was a real power move because I was able to join other professionals and make this great group that we were working together, and we were able to do that for almost 15 years. Then when I decided to move to Texas, I have to reassess everything, change my plan, and begin working here as an employee, up to working with PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is one of the biggest CPA firms in the world, until I was ready to again open my shop. So now I'm the CEO of Taxman Consulting, a CPA firm that focuses more on the side of what things we can implement for our clients that can help them grow their business.
Awesome.
Yeah, Carlos, let me ask you a follow up on that. I love your tagline. I love your agency name, Taxman Consulting, and being Carlos the Taxman because it's memorable and obviously it states your benefit, which a lot of business owners don't even state their benefit ever. They make people guess. Where did the idea of the Taxman Consulting come from?
Oh, that's a great question. Back in the days, I had this client that was under an IRS audit, and he was very concerned. I was not, because I knew that we had everything set in line properly. But he was very concerned, and when we finalized the audit, he told me, "Oh, Carlos, you are my tax man." And I said, "That's interesting. I like the name." So when I decided to open shop again, last time, I said, "Okay, now we're calling ourselves Taxman Consulting." So because that's what we do, we help our business owners, clients, to tackle taxes properly.
Super
It's
effective.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's brilliant. I can't believe no one else took it. Like the name was available because it's
Yeah, it
so
was there.
obvious to be
It was there.
to be the taxman. So obvious. So as a fellow business owner, I think I have what is a critical question about power moves that business owners can take. From an overall strategy perspective, what do you think it is that business owners really need to consider in terms of tax planning? What should they be doing?
Yeah, the first thing is, for example, what is your current tax rate? So if you don't know that, then how can you plan ahead to be able to reduce that tax liability? Some of them are clueless regarding that. Other thing is how are you tackling with estimated taxes? Most of them don't compute and don't pay estimated taxes on a regular basis. So when the bill comes up, it comes with interest and also with penalties. So it's important to understand the process and be able to look ahead of what opportunities I can take now instead of later. Uh, I believe that some of the new business owners are not aware of that. Like, for example, uh, since 2018, we have the qualified business income deductions that helps you reduce your tax liability, giving you an extra deduction of 20% of your net income of the current year. So it has some limitations. So if you know the limitations, you can plan ahead to maximize it to the 20%. Some of them don't do that, and then it has reduced up to 5%. So if you are doing this the proper way, you are doing all the steps you have to do to be able to maximize it and take full advantage of it. So it's a free deduction. Why don't you want to take it completely?
Is the
Yeah,
answer to that is the answer to that question because most people just don't know?
they don't know. They're clueless about the deduction and then how it operates. And there are some scenarios where you can really do a big step up maximizing it. For example, let's say that you have a business, but you are also owner of a building. Perhaps if you are on the service industry and your income is over $500,000, perhaps it will be limited if you report everything together under one operation. But if you do a spin-off and then you have a real estate entity that is renting you the building, and then you have your normal operation, then you can split the income and then the limits will be reduced, and then you can take full advantage of that. So that's an easy strategy to maximize it, and people doesn't know that, and they need to do it before they start the next year, so you take full advantage of the next year.
Well, not only from a tax standpoint, but you're an attorney, so I can ask you this question from a liability standpoint. That makes a lot of sense too, does it not?
Of course, because you are segregating risk. The more you segregate risk, you're putting some firewalls between one situation and the other, and you are better to be protecting your assets. So, of course, no, absolutely, my friend. Yeah,
So, like if you were a business owner and you had a business and it operated out of a location and you owned that location as well, um, there's wisdom in splitting that up in certain circumstances.
yeah. I would tell you probably, like for example, segregation of risk is one of the most important factors when we are considering to do a structure of a family of companies. Because, for example, a furniture store is selling you the furniture. Maybe it's also providing some financing. Maybe
Right.
it's also moving the merchandise from the store to your house. So there are different operations with that different risk. So usually the best counsel will be, why don't we create different entities for each one of the operations, because the risks involved are so different. So you can segregate the risk. So if one is affected, the other ones are keep safe.
So I think, just in talking with you, one of the most important things that you bring to the table, outside of a very interesting name, Taxman Consulting, the thing that is that you can look at it, not necessarily giving legal advice, but when you're looking at taxes, you also have that attorney brain that's working and going to make suggestions that the typical accountant or CPA probably won't.
Yeah, I think
I'm getting that
if
vibe.
it
I mean, I've
becomes
been in
a,
business for 35 years, and just in talking with you, that's a very interesting perspective.
yeah, it's providing integrated services basically. So, like you said, we're giving you maybe the operational side of the answer, but also probably the accounting side, and also we include the legal side of it. So you got covered on all the sides that you're asking for. If we
Very
need
good.
also to ask for a help for a specific outside concern, then we will let you know. Wow, we need this specific person to help us out. So you have all the views and you have all the different factors included in the evaluation.
Good.
Carlos, tell us about your fractional CFO service. What does that mean exactly? And how is that an advantage to businesses?
Yeah. I think that's a new name that's been around for the last 5 years. And well, a CFO is a senior financial expert who provides strategic financial guidance, and a fractional will be on a part-time on a project basis. So you're getting an executive at a reduced cost because he will not be working 100% on your business. He will be devoting the needed time on that. And most of the things that fractional CFO do is, first of all, analyze cash flow patterns and predicts future needs, create budgets, forecasts that make sense for the business owners, identifies profit leaks you didn't know existed, and helps you make data-driven decisions about growth, hiring, and investments. Instead of if we can compare from a bookkeeper that is looking back at what happened, he's looking forward to see what's coming next to help you cope with the things that will be on your near or far future. So it's
Carlos,
a
could you tell
different
us
total
what
focus.
your typical client for the fractional CFO, what do they look like? Do they have to be like a big company, or could just any everyday businessman
No, not
utilize this skill?
really. No, not really. The most important part is that the 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 owner or the board that is working, you know, is open to be working on budgeting, forecast, monitoring. So it's not a thing of, I would say, of size per se. It's more of a culture. If they want to be trained of how to deal with this, to be diligent on keeping track of the KPIs, we can teach them from start until they're comfortable managing and understanding all the factors that we need to interpret and be looking at on a real time basis.
As a small business owner, and I don't mean to just throw this at you, but can I afford that service?
Yeah. So it will depend on the time that will be devoted and the complexity of the business. So the smaller the business, the easiest is. So less time will be devoted. So we can help you with a smaller budget for that. The
So you can
bigger and
scale.
more complex will require more time, more hours, and then of course it will cost more, but it will give you more services uh, uh, triggered or focused on your particular needs.
So if I have a small business, say that's 5 to 10 employees, and I'm wanting to scale it and maybe have 50 employees, and of course the profit and revenue that goes from that, you can help me scale that business, but in a very cost-effective way, just on a fractional basis. You're going to look at the numbers and let me know what to do.
Yeah, of course. So we can help you because the first thing we need to know is what will be your plan for growth, and then what financial needs and resource needs you will be needing to make that happen. And then we can set up a plan. So when you need the cash to invest on more human capital or perhaps equipment, you will have it. So sometimes people doesn't invest on advertising because they think they don't have the money to make it work. But if we set up properly a plan, let's say we want to start a new campaign in 2 months, we set up a budget, the money will be there. So you can invest on such endeavors and you will see the results.
Okay.
There are more power moves to be made, and we're going to help you. Right now, Gulfside Business Solutions is offering all of their business strategy books free of charge. This includes the Power Moves book, 2 business strategy books from me at CJA Business Strategy, and a marketing strategy book from our friends at Tylerica Marketing Systems. This offer might not last, so get your free resources now. Go to gulfsidebusinesssolutions.com/resources. Now, back to the show.
So say I had a company and I'm a very good tradesman and I've outgrown myself and I've added a few people, but now I'm starting to think like a business owner. You can actually help me by teaching me what I need to do.
Yeah, yeah, I can guide you step by step from the start, asking you first what are your needs, what are your concerns. Perhaps some of the money that you need to make these investments will come from your same operation. For example, when we look at the financial result, we might see there that there are some expenses that shouldn't be there. So we can implement some cost reductions that will help you finance the projects that you have in mind.
Great. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Carlos, I'm going to walk out on a limb. I might fall flat on my face with this question, but let me try it anyway. I talk to my clients all the time about the need to have adequate capital reserves.
Hmm.
I'm hoping you'll back me up on this and say you
Yeah,
agree. And then I want
I
your
do.
recommendation so I can compare it to what I tell my clients. What do you think constitutes an adequate capital reserve for a small business?
Well, for your normal current business expenses, you should have from 2 to 3 months at least in liquidity, in cash or cash equivalent. So anytime you need it, it should be there. Because if not, you'll be running short and dry. And then when you need to make an action, for example, hire a new employee, purchase certain equipment, maybe you don't have the cash to do it. So that will hinder your ability to cope with an opportunity. Like, for example, you've been waiting for the last 6 months for a new client to sign a contract with you. Now that you have the signature, now you don't have the cash to move on and implement this new endeavor. So I've seen that in the past, and you should be prepared because if you are trying to grow, you need the financial strength to make it happen.
Would you say that's the number one reason that both um, small to medium sized businesses fail is that they don't have adequate capital reserves?
I will say that plus they don't know how to manage cash flow because first they don't know where the cash flow is moving, what things are impacting it, and more so they don't know how to budget it. So first you need to know where you are, what are your real things that are affecting your cash flow positively and also in disbursement. But secondly, are you able to really do a good financial plan in terms of cash flows? If the answer is no, then we need to work on that because you need to have a good plan of how things are moving so you can have everything set in place when you need the money to make the right decisions.
Okay. Carlos, as we're winding down here, can you give our listeners a power move that they can do right now that will have an impact on their business?
Yeah. So I think the first things will be to analyze last year and current year, year to date. So the first thing is to take a deep look, deep dive on your P&L of last year and the current year, year to date, and
You're
see
creating a
what are the
baseline. Is
things.
that correct?
What was it?
You're creating a baseline basically that you're going to work from. That's why you're doing
Yeah,
that. Okay.
yeah. To have like an idea of where we are right now, and then after you really understand where the money is coming from, what are the most important clients or lines of services or products that you're selling. For example, when I see a P&L, I don't want to just see a line of income. I would love to see if you have different type of relation with clients that it shows that, for example, you can have annual clients, you can have monthly clients, you can have special projects. So it's better to have them properly identified so you know what factors are affecting your income so you will be in better position of first try to forecast how this will be moving the next months and also where should I be implementing more strategies to get more of one, two, or three of the clients. The other
Great.
part is looking at the expenses. Maybe you haven't been looking, recently, and you may find out that some of the expenses has been doubling, tripling from last year, and you were not aware of it. So making sure that you are monitoring that in a very organized and day-to-day basis will help you. Okay, there's some funds that are or expenses that are off the chart. We need to take care of that and try to, close that faucet so we don't lose more money there.
I want to take this opportunity. Can you tell people how they can get a hold of you or where they can reach you at?
Yeah, I think the best way to reach us is through our website, taxmanconsulting.com. There you can set up a free interview, 30 minutes interview, to know each other, to see what are your needs, and then we can go from there.
Great. Carlos, we really appreciate you being here. You've shared a great amount of information with us. We appreciate that. We're very grateful, Joe. Thank you, as always.
Carlos, we're starting a tradition. We're not going to end the podcast until the guest makes us laugh. What do you got?
Yeah, I was asking a friend recently, I was asking him, why didn't you report your stolen credit card? And he told me, well, the thief was spending less than me.
All right, that's the bar. Nice job, Carlos. Carlos, thanks so much for being our guest today on Power Moves for Business podcast, sponsored by Gulfside Business Solutions. You brought so much insight to our audience. Thanks for being here today. We hope you got at least one power move that you can use to grow your business. Until next time, God bless.
Thanks for joining us on the Power Moves for Business Growth podcast, presented by Gulfside Business Solutions. If you enjoyed today's conversation, follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts and share it with someone making their next big move. Learn more about how GBS helps businesses grow at gulfsidebusinesssolutions.com. Until next time, keep making the power moves that fuel your growth.